I will tell you, one of the narratives was that some individual was injecting other people with drugs. We do have a report of a security officer, according to the medical staff that was out and treated him last night, that he was reaching over to restrain or grab a citizen, and he felt a prick in his neck. When he was examined, he went unconscious. They administered Narcan. He was revived, and the medical staff did notice a prick that was similar to a prick that you would get if somebody's trying to inject. That is one part of it.
That's a part of it that seems to be one of those things that you read at the first that changes over time. Like oftentimes the circumstances of the case change and the initial reports that everyone remembers hearing at first change. Oftentimes it changes from multiple actors to a lone actor. This seems to be something I'm not hearing about, because if this happened, this should be the focus of everybody's investigation, front and center, and all other things should be a side note. But somehow this seems to have gotten swept under the rug. My assertion in my other video that I made earlier today is that they may be squelching the reporting on this part of this story to avoid copycats, because that's a common thing. Copycat criminals. They hear about something on TV, they go out and do the same thing they heard of. The other reason could be, back in the days of the War on Terror, when someone would do something overseas, oftentimes we would not report on it, and if we did, we wouldn't say their name, as to not give them the glorification of the crime that they committed. Similarly here, we may not be wanting to give credit to any group or individuals in order to bolster their name for the same reason. Because the intimidation factor and the psychological impact on your enemy of terrorism, which is the point of it, could utilize the fear and anxiety around the hypodermic needle and use it as a weapon of psychological impact due to all the fear and anxiety that's been built up around it. And it would be very low cost and high effect on the psychological impact that it would have. And it's not even classified as a weapon until you use it as such. So I'm just wondering who else remembers this? Who else has even heard this fact about the concert where people got trampled? Because this fact would also go a long way to explain why the crowd surged, why people suddenly surged in one direction. Because there's a guy over there poking people with the Pokemon sticker. That's the new code word, by the way. And these are credible people, not just someone in the crowd said. And according to this video that I took this excerpt from, other people said they experienced the same thing, that they all got pricked by something. A bunch of people did. According to this video, I don't know. But listening to this officer who is credible, he speaks of an EMT and a security guard who both have some degree of credibility because of who they are and the position they hold. And the security guard didn't pass out because he was in the middle of a crowd getting squoze and couldn't get oxygen. He was functional, reaching out to grab somebody. He was still functional and engaging in his job. And these two could have been working in a coordinated effort. The one guy goes over and starts acting a fool to attract the security. And once security's got their hands and attention upon him, the other guy comes from behind with the pricker. And that's an operation that if they did televise or broadcast and report on, it would be the reporting that is the psychological impact. So to defuse the ultimate effect of the operation, they simply brush that fact under the rug and don't talk about it. And you don't hear about it anywhere. And half the truthers that I hear talking endlessly about numerology and symbolism in this and how it was some sort of weird ritual have seemingly forgot about that part. Because if they did remember and talk about this, then none of that other stuff matters. All the other stuff is side notes, secondary. If this happened, this is the focus of the investigation. Whoever this guy was, how many other people reported they experienced the same thing? And an EMT confirmed by looking at his neck that that is indeed what apparently happened. So we have the credibility of this officer reporting what the EMT confirmed and what the security guard reported happened to him. And he passed out. Not from the crowd surge, not from getting trampled, from what pricked him in the neck. So if these guys were working in a coordinated fashion, the guy that attracted him, the guy that attracted the security officer to get him to reach out and focus his attention and hands on the guy, and the guy who walked up behind the security guard, if they worked in a coordinated fashion, we're looking at a good reason why they might not report on this, to defuse the impact of such an operation. Plus, it might be like when two wizard spells collide. This would collide with their other wizard spell that uses the same tool, the same implement, the same instrument of delivery. And so this tool could be weaponized psychologically, redirecting the wizard spell they've already casted on the public to a different direction. And that's ultimately what it could be and would be intended to be utilized for in the hatching of such a plot. And if what this officer says happened, then why is no one talking about that? Because if they were talking about that, then nothing else they're talking about would even be relevant or pertinent to the conversation and the investigation. It is all about what this guy just said that nobody's talking about. So I think this might be like one of those facts or those initial reports that they talk about that get changed and buried and forgotten. And already has been changed, buried, and forgotten, because even the truthers aren't even talking about this part of the investigation, because nothing else matters if you're talking about this. I'll leave the link in the description from this video where I got this excerpt from, and this excerpt is at about 4 minutes 40 seconds into it. It's only a 5 or 6 minute video. And I have a feeling that if they do continue to bury this part of this story, soon this will be a hard excerpt to find. They'll just remove it anywhere they find it eventually, but